Hello, 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 and welcome to the latest installment of And Sarah Appears. My name is Sarah, and it appears that people have a problem with, I think, there's shame and a stigmatism around women or men, more so women, who just are not great in bed. There's a real stigmatism around that. Or women who just don't have a clue when it comes to being in the bedroom. And with that being said, with my personal journey, I've been on a journey with learning how to be comfortable and be respectful of myself and where I'm at on a soul level, because my body at one point was responding to trauma that I didn't know where it was coming from. At one point in my life, I could not remember certain things that had happened to me in childhood, but my body definitely did. And so my body would respond in a way that was not that was was voiding me of pleasure, voiding me of happiness, voiding me of being able to share myself in a liberated way with someone that I trust or somebody that I loved. Um, and I think a lot of people were just like, here's the thing. When it comes down to it, I believe that there has to be a compromise in every area of a relationship. This is where people get things messed up. Some people on one side of sexual trauma are extremely overactive or extremely reactive because of the sexual trauma that they have endured and gone through. They have a way that they execute things, and it has become second nature for them to empower themselves or to act out in defiancy because of the sexual trauma that they've had. On the other end of the spectrum, you have people with no or with an underactive sexual lifestyle where there is fear that is incorporated, where there is a lack of understanding that is incorporated with their sexuality, their sensuality, as far as being able to express themselves in the bedroom or express themselves with anyone. So you have some people sexually, they have bravado, and other people sexually, they're looking for that space where they can finally be comfortable to share and express themselves with someone that they can trust. It's like you need someone to be your own walking, talking safe word. You need someone. And here's the thing. A lot of people got angry at me because they tried to throw a narrative on me that I look down on people who engaged in sex work, or I look down on people who empowered themselves through sexual liberation and did not want the stigmatism of, you know, society gives you the stigmatism of whore and prostitute and slut. And it makes me understand people like Amber Rose, who had the slut walk. And I thought that was really profound and empowering. Even with being from a Christian background, that slut walk was needed. It was needed. It was absolutely necessary, because Amber was saying, you people are hypocrites. You people are going out here and telling people that we're sluts, we're whores, we're prostitutes, we're all these things. And yet, on a public scale, privately, behind closed doors, everybody has a sex dungeon. I fully am for that slut walk that Amber Rose was doing at one point, because we need to be open about, in our society, about what we are into, what we engage in, what's okay and what's not okay. And people who get exposed for having alternative lifestyles are the main ones who rally and advocate against alternative lifestyles, especially in the bedroom. But going back to compromise, when you, I've encountered people who were extremely sexually fluid, and also people who were just literally bedroom acrobats, people who they get down with the get down, they do anything with anyone at any time, any place. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that if that is what you're doing from a place of expression and empowerment, not from a place of, I have unhealed childhood trauma and I am sexually acting out and still taking my frustration out in the bedroom. Because I don't think that that behavior is excusable. No more do I think that my own behavior is excusable about not being able to explore having my sexual revolution due to certain ways my body has reacted because of trauma that I literally had blocked out of my mind. And then all of a sudden, I was able to come into the realization, and I was having visions and even, smelling smells and feeling things. And it came to, and even tasting things in my mouth. And I came to the realization, oh, my body is responding like this because I was molested and I didn't know it. I had no clue I was molested for years until that trauma came up and I started remembering my molestation. And it did attribute to the nuances that I had in the bedroom. I was not good in bed. And for me, I became very angry because I started taking classes to be able to open myself up to that sexual prowess that is within me. Unfortunately, because of, people being malicious and gang stalking and different things like that, I had to leave this establishment that I loved this establishment that I used to go to, but I had to leave the establishment because there were not people at the establishment, but people outside of the establishment were basically putting pressure on me and doing things to ruin relationships and ruin things around me. So now that I'm back on a track of normalcy, I'm going to continue my journey with opening up my sexual prowess. Also, being a part of the church, it was something that I was demonized for and it was used against me. Now, this is a person who is still completely celibate, hasn't been having sex with anyone, and because I wanted to heal myself from the sexual trauma that I endured as a child. The way that I was able to do that was through exploring the energy centers of my body, and also taking the stigmatism and the shame around being naked or being in clothes that were, deemed scantily clad. And I was doing it in a closed off environment where they had different levels of lights, and there was, incense and crystals, and there was energy work that would happen in one room. I was taking belly dancing classes, which definitely open you up. I was having changes in my energetic levels and in my energetic fields because I was learning that it was okay to be one with your sexual prowess, and you can take that back and it can empower you. What does not empower you is lying about where your intention is coming from when you go to execute your sexual revolution. If you are executing sex through trauma that happened to you in your childhood, you may be feeling like you have to be dominant, or you have to force yourself on your loved one, on the person that you're supposed to share this intimacy with, because you were made to feel like you didn't have the power when you were being overpowered at a young age sexually. So now psychologically, everything that you do, you have to do it in a sense of, I am in control sexually. And this is for men out here too, because a lot of men get sexually taken advantage of at a young age as well. And I want to take the stigmatism out of, oh, it's just women who deal with this. No, a lot of men approach their sexual lifestyle through their trauma that they had as a child. So it's like if a man or a woman molested you at a young age and they overpowered you, now because you were a child, of course, and they had no business with forcing themselves on you or coercing you into whatever they did. Now that you are of age and you are in control of your own body, you're still not in control of your psyche, because you're taking out on the next person what somebody else did to you in childhood. So you are in this flow of being not sexually empowered, but now you're a sexual deviant. And it's not in the fun way either. It's like you're a sexual deviant in the pain inflicting way. That doesn't give you excitement. It actually makes you feel depleted and less than. Because you still have somebody from your childhood who is controlling you. Invisible chains of bondage, invisible whips, and invisible fetters that are gagging your reality and making you think that you have to perform in the bedroom in a certain way that is like you're not able to signal or pick up. It may be too much for the person that you're being intimate with. So now we get offended. Because it's like, wait, I don't really want to deal with that. I don't really, when the other person tells you, I think that's a little too much for me, or can we modify it? Can we do something else? Can we slow down? Now you get offended because it's like, this is pleasure. This is top tier. This is top of the line. Who are you to sit here and tell me that I'm too much, too hard, too fast? You know what? Forget you. I'll find someone else who can take it if you can't take it. And you end up throwing away cherished relationships because you allowed your ego to get in the way of someone who just wanted compromise. And that has happened to me several times. People have rejected me because everything else works for them. Visually, I have it for them. Intellectually, I have it for them. I'm able to make them laugh. I'm able to make them comfortable. I'm a safe space. But when it comes to the bedroom, they don't want to be patient with me. They don't want to take the time to teach me, to mold me. They don't want to take the time to understand there's certain things that I am not going to engage in, but I'm not going to judge you if you choose to engage in it. A lot of people think that because you have a lack of activity or a lack of certain things that you do in the bedroom, that you're subconsciously judging them and you're making them feel like you think you're better. And it's like, I don't think I'm better than you. Where are you getting this from? Where is this coming from? You may be into something sexually that I'm just not into. And yet you want to force me to be a part of something or into something sexually that I'm just never going to be okay with engaging in, or I'll try it at least one time, but it's just not for me. And so a lot of people look at that through the lens of rejection because they're still operating not out of sexual power, but out of a sexual imprisonment because of their childhood trauma. And then they'll try to flip it on you and say, well, the reason why you're not doing this and X, Y, and Z is because you're the one that's not healed. And it's like, no, you have selective hearing. I'm willing to try and explore any and everything that I need to in order to come into a compromise or an energetic flow of currency where me and my partner are able to enjoy each other in sexual bliss. I'm willing to try it. I'm willing to do whatever I need to do in order to see, is this for me sexually? Because I do think it's a responsibility for both partners to satisfy each other. But if there's something that I know I just don't want to engage in, that's not rejection. That's just me saying, that's not for me. I like this. I like that. That's not for me. You know, I'm the type of person, when it comes to, I'm a Virgo, but of course, but when it comes to it, I am the type of person where I do like that feeling of kind of constraint, or I do like that feeling of, there's certain things that make my tingles tangle, if you know what I mean. There's certain things that do arouse me, but there is also an understanding, and I'm completely open about this. I've been completely open about this. There is an understanding that I've had an interruption with my sexual journey, because I've had people who wanted to force me into very intense, compromising sexual acts that were on an expert level, and I'm on a novice level when it comes to being in the bedroom. And that's why I was taking classes to learn how to be more comfortable with my sexuality, because you have to understand, even though I've had childhood trauma, it's not fair to let my partner go through that and expect them to just deal with it. That's not fair. That's something that you need to come into, first of all, come into the reality of your sexual experiences as a child through molestation are shaping the way that you show up in the bedroom. You got to come to that realization. I came to that realization, and I realized when it comes time to have a partner invited into my life, I want to be confident. I want to be comfortable. I want to be able to energetically pick up on what it is that they need from me. But I also want to be communicative. I want to tell them what feels good, but I also want to ask them, how does it feel? What do you like? How do you want it? Let's explore. But in order to get to that level, there has to be a healing that I have to go through so that the molestation that I dealt with in childhood does not show up in my bedroom. And that has happened to me over the years. And I had the memory for a long time of the molestation blocked out of my mind. I didn't know what was going on. I just knew my body would react to sex in a way that gave off wrong nuances. My body reacted in a traumatizing way to having sex because of the molestation that happened at a young age. And like I said, I was molested by both a man and a woman. So, men and women. So with that being said, one day it was certain taste, certain smells, certain flashbacks just started coming to the point where I fell on my knees. I didn't know what it was. And then after I got up, I realized, oh, I've been molested. And I started remembering what was happening. Um, and not only did I remember it, but I was smelling stuff and I was tasting stuff and I started to regurgitate, and it was like a real experience. Like I never had an experience like that before, but it gave me the keys and the tools and the answers into what needs to happen to start the healing journey. And so I had started my journey with healing what was going on and what was wrong with me. And my journey was always being interrupted by people who were closeted sexual deviants who wanted to punish me in real life because I wouldn't allow them to have their way with me. And it's not that I wouldn't allow them to have I mean, I've had people try to blackmail me, close opportunities, railroad me, gangsta, all kinds of things because they didn't understand why I was not bending to their will. And the thing about it is, those people have sexual trauma because you can't try to force your way onto someone. Because now you're enacting the same thing that was done to us in childhood. And you need to realize that. You want to force your sexual deviancy onto people and just lay it out right then and there. And it's like, you have to understand, everybody has boundaries. Everybody has safe words. Everybody has levels that they're on. It's very intimidating. And you know this because being a person who survived molestation and sexual trauma, the first time somebody performed a sexual act on you and they really forced themselves on you, it was intimidating because you didn't know what was happening. You didn't know how it was happening. You just knew that somebody is doing something to you and it's not supposed to happen, but c'est la vie, such is life. And it became a part of your sexual character and personality as a person. And the truth is, some people are acting out in deviancy because they were not able to scream loud enough for anyone in their world to care that they were being repeatedly compromised, overpowered, and negatively dominated, raped of their freedom to be able to say, I don't want this. I'm not ready for this. This has attributed to a lot of my self-esteem issues because I carried shame and something happened psychologically to where it was blacked out of my psyche, the memories, and then all of a sudden, boom, it just came back. And I realized like 3-4 years ago, I was molested. I was molested. So my body carried shame and trauma that I never knew anything about. Also, metaphysically, there were things that were happening to try to keep me from connecting with other people sexually as well. But my body carried shame. My body carried trauma, fear in my energy centers because my body could still remember the molestation. And it is important to understand where you are coming from and how you are showing up. Not just in the world, but also in the bedroom. And is somebody from your past holding on to you and preventing you from experiencing or being the best, most confident individual that you can be in that bedroom setting? Who's holding your energetic fetters and chains? Who is energetically whipping you? Who is energetically gagging you with the ball? Who is energetically blindfolding you? You think when you walk into this bedroom and you're ready to do what you're here to do, you think that you're doing this because you're getting your rocks off. And in actuality, somebody who brutalized you is getting their rocks off through you. It is important for all of us to go through the experience of a sexual revolution. But it is important to know that not all of us are going to go through that sexual revolution the same way. When I first started working and I was going on interviews and I was looking for a job in fast food, I came across a manager and I told him after about my 7th or 8th interview and not finding a job, I just told him, I said, a lot of places won't hire me because I have no experience. I have no experience. And so they automatically don't want to put in the work to try to teach me, to train me, to mold me. They don't want to do that. And he looked at me and he said, that is one of the main reasons why I am hiring you. I'm hiring you because you don't have any experience. And now I can teach you and I can mold you in the way to where you are fit into what we need for this company. He said some of the worst things that you could have to go through as a manager is deprogramming somebody who has had 5, 6, 7 years with 3 different establishments of fast food work. And they come into a new establishment, a new company, and they think they already have everything figured out. And they're doing this and they're doing that. And they're excellent. They're good workers. But there's things that they are not doing according to the protocol. They're not, because they've already gone through the throes of things. They believe that they've got it all figured out. And due to believing that they got it all figured out, they're not able to be teachable, moldable, and they're not submittable. They're not able to submit. I don't think submittable is a word, but they're not able to submit. You, on the other hand, you don't have any experience. So we're able to mold you. We're able to teach you how to do things the way our company culture does it. Versus somebody who already is seasoned, knows what they're doing, knows how to go out there and get it, knows how to execute the orders, but they don't do it in the way that we do it. So it causes them sometimes to either cut corners or it causes them to be a real hazard because there's safety precautions that they don't feel like they have to adhere to because they did things like this at another place. So they're not really concerned about any of that. But you, not having any experience, the reason why I'm a manager is to be put in that position to be able to mold you and teach you how to do things. And when he said that, my confidence got a boost. I was like, okay, go off, like pipe me up. My confidence got a boost. The reason why my confidence got a boost is because of the sheer fact that I never looked at myself as having value or being valuable because of the lack of experience that I had, where somebody else saw it as an opportunity to create or to be able to manage the perfect company worker, because now it's somebody that they could actually manage instead of all these people that were hired on that were already experts. And it became counterproductive to the flow of his establishment. And I think when it comes down to it, for me, I have had situations where I've had to tell people, is it okay? Can we slow down? I'm not necessarily ready for this. I don't really know. Like, I need, like, I've had to explain to people what has happened with me. I have to explain to people, yeah, I have to go to therapy. I have to go to certain classes and take certain courses, which, yeah, people laugh. It's like, you're corny, you're weird. Like, you have to do, like, you don't. And it's like, no, I am a victim of sexual trauma. I'm also have been a victim of metaphysical abuse that has tried to do everything to kill my womb, pretty much, and to hold me back from exploring myself sexually or having it's literally like I've been experimented on. A lot of people have done a lot of things to try to control my sensuality, my sexuality. It's very sick and sad. But when it comes down to it, I am determined to make sure that I'm able to express fulfillment, able to have happiness, able to have feelings of arousal, natural arousal. It's my job to work against that through different techniques and modalities that have been around since ancient times. It's my job to be able to have my sexual revolution on my terms and also be open enough and fluid enough to compromise and explore and see if there's certain things that I would be into, but also be empowered enough to have a safe word and tell someone, no, this isn't, this is too much. This is too fast. This is too hard. This needs to slow down, or I don't like that, or maybe we can change something, or maybe we can do that. See, you're not able to do things like that unless you're doing it with somebody who actually cares about you. And in the world of hookup culture doesn't have time to care. Hookup culture has a limited window where you need to get your rocks off, you need to express yourself and get your steam off and go about your business. And that works for people who either have healthy sexual appetites, healthy sexual lives. At the same time, it also works for people who are able to express their frustration of what happened to them in childhood through their deviancy. Get in, get out, get ahead. But for people who are in the process of healing, who need one-on-one attention, who need to have a safe space and environment where they can explore themselves sexually, who are okay with saying, hey, I'm a woman and I'm an adult and I go to therapy for this. I do activities and pay for classes that explore my sexual health. I go to, I do exercises, to explore my prowess. I'm a woman and I'm not comfortable with my level of competency in the bedroom, and I want to be better and I want to grow and get better. But the way that I'm going to do it is not by fast, hard, you got to do this, you got to do that, that's unrealistic. That's actually causing more trauma, you know? And I want to be with someone who actually cares enough about me to say, oh, okay, I understand your process. I understand your journey. Do this, do that, continue to work on this. And then let's get back and meet in the middle, and let's do this. Let's work on this together. Let's do this together. And that's basically that's basically what you have to do to get to the other side of your sexual freedom, of your sexual revolution, for me. And I'm not alone. A lot of people won't talk about it because it is embarrassing to be able to say, I'm a woman, I'm an adult, and I'm not great in bed, because there's a lot of pressure on women to be acrobatic, to be experts, to go all the way, and to not be, pretty much lazy in bed. And I think there's also a stigmatism on men as well, but men with society, they get more of a pass, especially when it comes to age. It's like, oh, well, I'm not as good as I once was. Shout out to Toby Keith. I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was, right? But with that being said, wherever you are in your level of sexual prowess, empowerment, on your journey with things, in the bedroom, don't be ashamed. Do not feel as if you're less than just because you have come to terms with the fact that I want to be better. I want to do things to be better. For me, those things were interrupted, and a lot of people did a lot of very heinous things to stop me on that journey. And now I'm in a position where I'm going to continue my sexual healing journey and continue exploring my fluidity, and being happy in that process, and learning to be comfortable with myself, to be comfortable with my body. One of the things that the instructor in the one of the pole dancing classes told me was the reason why you're not able to do some of the tricks, or you're not able to perform some of the some of the technique, is because you don't trust your own body. And that was mind-blowing, because I never had heard that before. However, it was very true. It was so true. I was like, oh my God, I don't trust my own body. My body does not, I don't trust my body, and my body doesn't trust me. And it's like my head is blocking things, or my body is reacting because there's no trust, there's no flow, there's no relationship between me and my body. And I realized, okay, how do we get there? How do we get to the point where I am trusting my body? And this is why, because of my journey, which I'm going to restart, this is why a lot of people stigmatized me and demonized me for wanting to be comfortable and express my sexual liberation on my own terms. Our society is a society of rape culture. We literally force men and women. We force people. We force people into sexual deviancy. We don't enforce or encourage liberation in an organic way. And we don't want to talk about that. Sometimes that happens in steps and in stages. Everything is hard, fast, now. That's rape culture. You should be able, and if you're into things that are more of the sexually macabre or alternative, I have no judgment for you. I don't have a dog in the fight to judge anyone. I think it's idiotic to judge someone for being a sex worker. I think it is. What I don't like is when people do everything that they can to demonize gays, sex workers, trans, women, men. When you do everything to demonize these beautiful minorities of people, and you talk about how they're wrong for how they express themselves, how they look, you talk about all these things, and then you turn around and you do the very things with the same group of people that you're dedicated to inflicting pain on, that you're dedicated to talking crap about in society, that you're dedicated to misunderstanding, and yet behind closed doors you pay these people to act out your deepest, darkest sexual desires. That is quintessential rape culture. You're okay with raping people of their outward expression of happiness, their outward expression of who they are organically, because you're not comfortable with who you are, because you're still being bound and chained and whipped and gagged by your sexual trauma. It's time to energetically use your safe word and let yourself free. Bye for now.